There we go. There's our program director telling us that
I didn't mean to come into the I didn't mean to come into the studio when you guys are on the air, but I just wanted to say this meeting has been recorded.
Yes, I didn't mean to come in, but you guys have certainly not helped this station do anything. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm getting myself together here so I look good for television. You, New York Vinnie, are in Seattle, Washington, and I say hello, 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 salutations, and to all New Yorkers, let's have a safe day. We love you. Why does it always have to happen to New York?
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't always happen to New York. It's just that New York has a way of handling it that seems to be different than most other places. You know, I mean, we saw it with 9/11. We've seen it with the World Trade Center bombing before that. We've seen go back throughout my cognizant history of New York, and there's just a different way that people handle it there as opposed to most other cities. There's a resilience, there's a bounce back, there's it's another day. I mean, in most cities, I'm thinking that for that return commute yesterday, afternoon, there would have been nobody on the trains.
Right.
There would have been, forget about it. There would have been nobody. But in New York, even the same line that was still running, I mean, they all weren't running yesterday afternoon in Brooklyn, but any train that was running in Brooklyn, people just said, okay, I'll take the, I'll take the Park Slope train instead of I'll take the GG instead of the N, I mean,
one of the kids that got shot was in shock and he was in the hospital and said, I don't know if I can ever go back on the train. And I was thinking too about other New Yorkers going, what are you, nuts? Of course you're going back on the train. How are you going to get home? Of course I'm going on the train. How am I going to get to my mom's house? Of course I'm going on the train. I'm going to Coney Island. How else am I going to get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's obviously a valid thing. I mean, I think that if I
if you get shot,
we're on an airplane and the airplane went down or had a scary landing or something like that, and I survived, I might think about.
That's different. You're right. That's different.
Yeah, I might think about going, but probably a year or 2 years or 5 years from that, I probably would be back on the plane, plane, back on the subway. I mean, I think people are, when we say these things about New Yorkers bounce back, it doesn't mean that New Yorkers should say, oh, screw it and just get back. I mean, there's certain times that people are going to need, especially kids, and we forget, nowhere is it really being mentioned how many kids were shot yesterday. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that really kind of has shocked me so far about the coverage, and maybe people are trying to be not exploitive of that aspect of it. But there was, I forget exactly the number of kids, but I think half of the people that were shot were kids going to school. That's a famous corridor. There's a ton of schools, mostly Catholic schools for whatever reason, along 3rd and 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, all the way out to Bay Ridge. So in that area, people take kids. It's not uncommon for kids to get a subway pass, if they still do that. When I was growing up, that's what they did. You could get a subway pass and you could jump on the subway and take the subway to school instead of waiting for the bus.
One of the things that I can't understand yet is, of all the video that we saw as the train pulled into the 36th Street station, of all the video that we see people getting off the car that was affected, but the shooter was on that car. And we don't have video of him getting off that train, although he did. Yeah. Obviously, he'd be in custody. If we could have gotten our hands on him, we would have. Nobody was pointing him out. Nobody said, there's the guy. Nobody said, he's the one with the mask. Nobody said, that's the dude.
Yeah.
And he didn't appear on any of the video.
Yeah, I find that a little odd too, that it didn't, that somebody, actually what I really find odd is that somebody, once his gun jammed, somebody didn't jump on him.
Yeah.
Because I would say that would probably 99%, but again, you're in a car on a subway train with workers, mostly workers that have gone to work already. I mean, my sister takes that line at times. She works at a school in Brooklyn, and she was already an hour past that.
Yeah.
working people, or the construction people, the waitresses, the middle class people that take that train are on it at 6, 7 in the morning.
They're gone. Yeah.
So they're gone. So now you have a predominance of people who are either working late, especially because it's going toward Manhattan. They go into work late. Maybe they're waitress. Maybe they have to be worked at 10 or 11 or something like that. I don't know if that means they're less likely to jump on somebody, but it's not your burly construction worker types for the most part that if they witness an event like that are going to, as we've seen so many times in so many videos before, chase somebody down the street while they're firing at them, jump on them, do the things that they do. And on top of that, you got the smoke bomb.
And didn't this train stop before it got to the station? After shots were fired, didn't the conductor stop the train?
I guess I didn't quite figure out the whole story. I am perceiving it to be that there was a train in front of that. Once the alarm went off, once they knew that there was an incident on that train, that they were trying to get, I guess it was a Bay Ridge train that was in front of it, out of the station so they could get this train into the station, but they couldn't do it quick enough to where, because to do that, I think, and again, depending on the traffic, you would have to override a signal, it's red, which says that you have to call, now I don't know if it's still there, it used to be 370 J Street, used to be the transit operating headquarters. In the movie Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3,
that's the headquarters.
That's the headquarters. It's it was at 370 J Street in Brooklyn.
That's a busy place.
That's from where this happened. So you would have somebody call and say, I need authorization to get past, to lock out of the signal, the red signal, which will not let a train go past. And again, I don't know that this system has changed or something, but in my experience, that's probably how it, how it worked out. So that's why the train stopped. Otherwise, it would have hit the other train that was still trying to get out of the state. What was it? The 23rd Street state? I forget the street station there, but whatever the one.
35th to 36th.
It was trying to get one train out so the other train could get in.
Now, you've ridden the subway many more times than I have, but in the time when I lived in New York, you could walk between the cars.
Yeah,
if you wanted to.
I am trying to think the last time, because I'm one of those people that will get on a train and move cars.
Me too. I love to do that. I will
walk through the train, or, depending on what's going on. And I found it interesting, as you did. I was shocked that you couldn't walk between cars. But I also remember many years ago, there being incidents of people walking between cars and either falling off the cars. Especially, they don't have them anymore, but the first new generation F trains had slanted fronts to them. They weren't, like the fronts on these cars are up, and they're 2-car units, and they, work in tandem with each other. One has a motorman thing, one has a motorman thing. Anyway, and when they had those F trains, they started locking the doors between the cars, because people could actually easily fall off to the side. It was a design flaw in the trains. They had to wind up going back and putting some
sort of guardrail,
like a guardrail in between them. And people still, if they were drunk or this or that, or maybe were old and couldn't walk good, like me, you had that. So that was, now I had thought, and I remember at least once or twice when I gone back to New York and ridden the train, that those doors opened.
Well, the people on the train thought they should open because they were trying like hell to get through.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, as we figure out the fact that we can't find this guy, it leads me to believe that maybe it wasn't one guy. And if they worked in tandem or with 3 people involved, somebody locks the doors, somebody does the rest of the business. Somebody does the smoke and somebody does the shooting. I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
But it seems like we have to find out more about what the heck happened to this guy, because he got away so easily under what should have been extraordinary amount of scrutiny with the people in that
Yeah,
car.
he got lucky. He got lucky that it was done at the right time. Listen, I don't think this guy was a transit authority employee or anything like that, but maybe he had a key. It's
Yeah.
probably not hard to get a key in New York for the doors that go, the door, a motorman's key, which would put you, I'm sure that to drive the train now, you probably got to log in somehow on
Right.
your cell phone or computer, but probably to walk between cars, all you need is the conductor's key. I said motorman, I'm sorry, conductor's key, which unlocks the conductor's compartment and the doors between the train, between the cars, because the motorman has to move back and forth between those cars.
Now, there's one thing that New York City is going to take it on the chin for, and that is no video working. Video cameras were there, but they were not working. No transit police in the station. No transit police responded. And it was I know they're probably working shorthanded and they're probably got budget problems, but that's going to give them a black eye, because that should be taken care of.
Well, yeah. Again, I haven't been following the transit police closely, so I don't know if there had been budget problems. I would imagine that they're shorthanded. I mean, I think every police department in this country is shorthanded right now.
Yeah.
Because of the events of the last couple of years. Massive numbers of police have left, and also, you have. I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm wrong here, that section of Brooklyn is not exactly, it's funny because it used to be a high crime area, but it no longer is. In relation to places like East New York or other places like that still could be high crime areas. There still could be places. So I'm thinking that maybe that's not a place where they, in the rush hour in the morning, concentrate police. You can't have a cop in every station.
No.
And unfortunately, with the budget and everything going on the way it has been, now I think Adams, the mayor, may be rethinking that, may be trying to figure out, okay, where can I get some cops from housing, or where can I get some cops from? Because, there's not just one police department either. There's several different police departments. There's the NYPD, there's the housing, transit police. I think
there's so many
for everything. There's the Bronx Zoo police. I mean,
and there should be the Bronx Zoo police.
There's a police for everything. So I would think that in this situation, but they had already been having problems with short staffing on just the regular NYPD patrols. They were having trouble filling patrols.
And although I didn't see it specifically in writing, the person of interest made threats against the new mayor and made comments about New York. He's not a New Yorker, apparently.
Yeah, no, I think he's from Wisconsin. He rented the truck in Philly.
Yeah.
And can we now finally possibly do a background check before we give somebody a U-Haul truck?
What are you going to do with your U-Haul truck?
It seems like every time there's a terrorist attack, there's a U-Haul truck involved.
It's like they don't want to take their own car because they figure they're going to get away with it, and they want their car so they can go on a vacation to Disneyland.
Yeah,
you're not going to be driving your car anymore. Forget about that. Forget about the clothes you left behind. You're not going to see those again either.
Yeah, didn't the guy who did the attack on West Street a few years ago, did he also rent the U-Haul truck, or maybe he rented a budget or something like that?
In fact, anytime you go to Times Square with a rented truck, the cops are going, "Look at this!"
Right. Oh no!
Nowadays,
if you park a truck anywhere in the vicinity of Times Square,
beep 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 beep.
Yeah, there's they got those cameras. They're looking at it, and they have they can tell quickly. I actually know how, but I can't say it. But there's a system that if something doesn't look right, it's not just a human looking at it, but it's a computer looking at it and saying, this truck, this whatever, has been parked here a certain amount of time, and it just doesn't. It's out of the normal.
And even if they want to check the place and find out that rented truck doesn't belong there, it should be in Schenectady. There's a red light as well.
Yeah, except that you do a lot of one-way rentals. So I mean, but I think at the very least in that area, in that place, it is a zone where I don't know how it's set up, but I'm sure that they have, under the Patriot Act, they have an easier time of searching somebody or searching a vehicle than they would maybe if you were parked, on a street in Jackson Heights.
Looks like we're dealing with a lone wolf because he was not a professional, would not have left his credit card, his car keys,
Yeah,
his pack, and all the other things that he had with him behind.
Yeah.
That
he
simply
would have.
not
Yeah,
left here.
this guy was. It doesn't seem like he's a professional. It doesn't seem like it's like an Al Qaeda or this just seems like some frustrated asshole who,
Yep.
for whatever reason has decided to act on his frustrations against a bunch of innocent people.
Same thing happened in the Giants game last night.
What?
A upset asshole changed the game quite a bit. When the first base coach from the San Diego Padres, Mike Schilt, went over to the Giants dugout and made some disparaging remarks about the first base coach for the Giants. And he said, "You better keep that MFer under wraps." And the guy says, "Excuse me? Keep me under wraps? I don't work for you. You don't own me. I'm not your slave. You don't come over to our dugout and tell me about wraps." So they got into a conversation, which got the Giants first base coach thrown out of the game. And he's complaining to the league because he said it was the first base coach from San Diego with his racist comments that should have been removed from the game. And that opened the door to a record-breaking historic evening, a very first in baseball, something that has never happened, and it happened last night, when to take the place of Antoine Richardson, the first base coach for the Giants put in Melissa Nakken, Nakken, the first time a female has ever coached first base in American baseball.
In the major leagues.
In the major leagues.
Yeah. Wow. That's history right there. I mean, because you already have in the minor leagues, you have a woman manager of a team.
That's great.
And matter of fact, she won her first game. I've said this for many years, Michael, that I think at some point you are going to see women in certain roles in baseball games. I don't think that it's going to stand now. Listen, there's going to be the arguments and this and that, but boy, how cool would it be to have, if you're going to have a designated hitter, how cool would it be to have a woman who is fast and could bunt?
Yeah.
She's not going by nature. She's not going up to the plate and saying, "I'm going to launch the ball over the fence." She's saying
that's bound to happen sooner or later.
It'll happen, but for most women, they don't have that upper body ability to do that. They're filled with other things besides muscle and stupidness.
Hey, in baseball, the line drive is a killer.
Yeah,
it's a killer. The most deadly hit in baseball. How about a single up the middle with the bases loaded? There you go.
Yeah, because if you hit it right, you hit it where they ain't. What's going to happen? So I think
that happened last night, and it was an interesting night. The Giants did something that your Mets can relate to. Anybody who's suffered through a losing season can relate to it. In their first 4 games, they scored 12 runs total. Last night, they scored 13 in one game and won the game 13-3. It was a game of home runs and of excess and of big innings. And it was the first time the Giants ever broke out this year. And it was remarkable to see. In fact, I thank Major League Baseball for broadcasting all these games for free, because I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't, we're going now. There was another, you brought up the word bunt, and that happened in the game as well. With the score 11-1, Mauricio Darbon, a young infielder playing shortstop in place of Crawford, bunted for a single. And the Padres were angry that they felt they had been shown up. It was a violation of the unwritten rules of baseball. You don't bunt with the score that way. And he bunted for a single and got on base. And the Padres are giving him stink eye from the dugout. If you could have seen Bob Melvin he had his professional stink eye going, trying to get the guy's attention to say, we're watching you. That was a violation of the unwritten rule. You're lucky Bob Gibson isn't pitching. And they talked about the unwritten rules of baseball, and they talked about maybe this was a violation thereof. And then Gabe Kapler, the Giants manager, said after the game, we're aware of the unwritten rules of baseball, and this doesn't apply. It was a single, it was a bunt, it was a hit. Get used to it, get over it. We won the game.
Yeah.
And so when is it if it's a violation only if you're the team that's losing? It's not a violation if you're the team that's winning?
That's the problem with it being unwritten rules. It's not really, I mean, nobody knows when exactly to apply it. It's like saying, a speed limit of 35 is an unwritten rule. I mean, when a cop pulls you over, what does he do? Well, gee, I was going 36. Well, that's an unwritten rule here that you get,
the unwritten rules.
Speed limit,
You can be angry about it.
It's a rule. It's not a rule. First of all, it shouldn't be called a rule. It should be called a tradition, because it's not a rule. It's a tradition.
An agreement between non-gentlemen.
Right. It's a gentleman, just like you had the gentleman's agreement that said that black people couldn't play baseball for almost a century.
Or golf, or football.
Or golf, or football, and many other things. There was no rule. It was just an agreement. It was a tradition, and that was the way it was, and people didn't question it, because if you wanted to be a part of the boys club, you shut your mouth and you went along, right?
Well, today at 12:45, we'll find out if there's going to be any blowback from a violation of the unwritten rule, because the Giants and the Padres play again at 12:45 today, and I'd like to see what happens in terms of high and hard ones, or sliding with the spikes up at second base, or any other violation of the unwritten rule that Bob Melvin and the San Diego Padres want to bring to the fore, bring to the table for discussion.
Well, Michael, in this day and age, well, there's a couple of things at work here. First of all, in this day and age, how many runs is enough? How many runs is it?
If you're playing in Denver, there is no enough.
Now, are you going to tell me that Bob Melvin, when they were down 13-2, told his team, "Don't try to score any more runs. We're done with this.
We're done. Yeah.
We'll just call it a night, and I'm going to grab some, 6 people from the stands and put them in."
How about this? They put a infielder in to pitch the last 2 innings because the score was so lopsided. The Giants had 2 home runs off of it. Jock Peterson and Wilmer Flores both hit dingers against this guy, making it from 11. They ran the score up to 13. Nobody threw at them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I find this whole thing about running the score up ridiculous. It's high school.
So bunting is no good, but you can hit a home run.
I mean, bunting is okay. It should all be okay. The object of the game for 9 innings is to get on base.
Yep. Hit the damn ball.
That's or however you can, whether it's walk or hit or get hit by a pitch, whatever it is. But that's the idea of the game, is to get on base. Not to look at the other person and say, "Oh my God, we're up on you by 10." Because I can tell you, if Bob Melvin's in the bottom, I forget where they playing in San Francisco, right?
Yep.
If Bob Melvin's guys get on and they start to get a couple of hits and maybe tighten that score up to 13-6, Bob isn't telling them, "Well, okay, we scored a few more so we don't look stupid. Let's get on the bus and get out of here." Yeah. Bob's telling them, keep going. He's trying to figure out every which way he can to get, to score the rest of the runs he needs to tie this game up until the last out. See, that's part of the beauty of baseball.
You can come back. You can come back. You're not dead till you're dead.
Yeah, you're not dead till the last out. Ask anybody who was sitting there when the 1986 Mets were playing the Red Sox.
And if you watch this game, you will see that. You'll see it sooner or later.
It's the last strike. I mean, what was it? I forget. Maybe it was about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. The Mariners were in Cleveland and they were comfortably ahead in the 9th inning. I think it was 15-3 or something like that, or some double figures against a low number. And the Indians, for whatever reason, figured out, we can hit the ball. And they came back and they beat the Mariners. They're, I think, 12, 11 runs down.
Wow.
So it's not unheard of. It's not impossible. Once you watch the game like that, you will say, I want every run I possibly can get. Now, I'm not going to show people up to do it, but bunting is a part of the game. It's not showing people up. It's a legitimate way to get on base.
And if you're a fast man, as Mauricio Dubon is, you use your double weapons. You bunt and you use your speed to beat it out, which you did.
So I just
and it's so weird for a professional team to go, hey, no fair. He bunted. Come on.
Yeah,
you're gonna go through 15 minutes of stink eye over a hit.
I gotta find that. You know what that is? That's Bob Melvin trying to assert himself with his new team.
Yeah,
that's what that is. That's him saying, "All right, I got to do something here to assert, to show these guys I'm on their side."
Well, the next step is suspensions, because a response to that with something today at 12:45 means that Bob Melvin gets a walk and a fine, and the pitcher gets out of the game, and now he's into his bullpen when he didn't want to be. So is that what he wants?
Well, no, but he brought himself into something yesterday. Yeah. He obviously, if he has the first base coach join with the other first base coach like that, he's obviously not controlling his team, because the last thing you want to do.
There's an unforced error right there.
You don't want to have any of your players thrown out, your coaches thrown out, somebody thrown out. You don't want that. But unfortunately, he put himself in that position. So now, if he, in the I forget if it was 2010, 12, something like that, we went through a season, 2 seasons actually, where there was some really bad blood between Andrew McCutcheon of the Pirates and a couple of people on the Reds. Who was the relief pitcher? He's now with the Yankees. Aroldis Chapman.
Oh yes.
Who loves to throw at people's heads.
He's a big boy. You should take it easy.
And he used to love to throw. I think that the Pirates and the Reds were the 2 top leading teams in the National League with hit by pitches. That was part of their game, part of their intimidation. And so you expected that when when Chapman came in the 9th inning and one of your big hitters was up.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. It's what happens. And a lot of people were upset at Clint Hurdle because he didn't want his players to retaliate.
He didn't want the fines and the suspensions.
Right. He said, we got a thin club here. We actually, for the first time in many, many years, at least in some kind of competition, to win something here. Let's not lose anybody. And
let's look at the big, let's look at the big picture for a second.
Right. The game was more important. The standings were more important than somebody's testosterone, in his opinion. And I gave him that. I thought that was a reasonable, because the company, in the old days, that wouldn't have happened. In the old days, Walter Alston or Tommy Lasorda would have told, Alston would have told Drysdale, go out there and, give him a free pass.
I'm looking at Willie Mays' jersey. It's really clean on the back. Why don't you see what you can do about that?
Yeah, you knock him on his ass.
I can't tell you the times that Drysdale threw at Willie Mays. Threw right at his neck. And
that's my all-time favorite quote in baseball, Drysdale. He said, intentional walk. Why don't I just hit him on the first pitch and save 3?
Yeah, if you're asking me, I'm the guy. I'm just the guy to do it. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens today with that. It's always, it's always good to have some kind of controversy going. It gives the fans something to scream about, something to holler about. Again, it's not like the old days where if a manager wanted to endear himself to his team, he would just come running out of the dugout and argue something. Pinella
Oh
We'll do it a
God.
million times. Just come running out. Nothing really to argue. Just come running out and, give your team a little bit of a charge. Give your team a little, and everybody would always say, well, no, that really doesn't do much of anything, but it does.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen Lou Pinella go to second base, take the base, fill the thing with dirt and pack it so you can't put the base back in. Until you've seen him do that slowly and with expletives ringing through the infield, you haven't had a good time at the ballpark.
And if you're sitting there in the dugout and he does that, you go, because of an out call or a bad call by an umpire, you're saying, I can't tell you how many players that I talked to in the Mariners in the late 90s and in 2000, early 2000s said, I'd run through a ring of fire for Lou Pinella.
The skipper knows what to do. He knows how to say it. And did you hear him say? Did you hear what he said to the ump? Did you see what he did?
Right. He's got my back.
Yeah.
And you saw it time and time and time and time again. And that's why Lou, I always thought, was so successful as a manager, because he got his guys, most of them, to stand behind him in whatever he wanted to do. People played their asses off. They played better for Lou than they played probably for any other manager. And it wasn't anything that he particularly told them or said to them. It was just the way he conducted himself, the way he took care of business as the manager.
Exactly.
And it wasn't that he was in the clubhouse chowing and palling with people. Hell, Lou turned over a few of those tables.
With the food on it.
With the food on them. Yeah, some of them post-game feeds. But you walk in that clubhouse and until certain players came along that didn't endear the team and Lou as much as others did, it was pretty amazing to watch.
Now, I don't know when the rules changed from the unwritten rule being enforced by the players themselves. They'll take care of it. The umpire's going, yeah, they'll take care of this one. Here comes a couple of hard ones. But then it evolved from the Bob Gibson gets to settle this on his own terms to the fact that the pitcher gets ejected, that he gets fined, that he gets suspended, and the manager too sometimes, and not in every incident, but in many incidents, the manager has to assume responsibility too in terms of a fine and a suspension. And is that written? Is that rule written?
I think it is. Fined? Yeah. Boy, I'd have to look, but I believe that. Yeah, I believe that they take it for granted when they warn the dugouts. They're warning the manager, the pitcher and the mananger.
Next step is
goes awry here. You're getting tossed, and you're going to
dip into your account.
Fined on top of it.
I wonder how much they fine them, but I think it depends on the incident.
Yeah, I think it's an arbitrary. I don't think it's a set number. I'd have to, again, I kind of, it's like I used to know every rule in the book when I was an official scorer, and now I've kind of let they've changed it so much that I can no longer tell you. And plus, it's a different thing now because, it used to be just the commissioner would make that decision. Several years ago, I think around the last contract, they put Joe Torre in charge.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Of doing that stuff. And I think it was LaRussa before him who was in charge of meting out the punishments. And I think it was Frank Robinson for a while too. I think Frank Robinson might have been the first guy.
There's a guy who's seen it all.
Yeah. I think it was Frank Robinson was the first guy. And then it was Joe Torre. And after Joe Torre, it was no, who else was in there too? I think it was Don Baylor, I think for a while. Was also had that, he was like that head of discipline type of guy.
Guys that have been hit while plying their trade as a batter.
Yeah, I think that I think that was a wise thing by the major leagues to have somebody in there that had practical field experience. When you had who was the guy that used to be the arbitrator?
Arnold Stang.
Yeah, well, if you had him in there, yeah. I mean, obviously his extensive experience, but they used to have guys do it that I don't think ever played baseball. Just as they had arbitrators who did all those salary things, and I don't think they played baseball. I don't think they had a clue. They would, it would be a bunch of lawyers doing it. So,
Well, baseball's always attracted a lot of numbers guys who don't play the game but are part of the game.
yeah, you have many of them now that
Yeah.
are working in front offices. There's probably more guys that never played a game of baseball in front offices now than there are guys that did.
By the way, playing San Diego, it's like playing a team with about 5 or 6 Aaron Judges on them. They're big boys. They're a big team. They look like a team of weightlifters. It's
What do they call them this? What do they call them this year? The Slam Diego Padres.
they still have a little monk on their shoulder. It's a pathetic uniform.
I like the little monk. I actually like the Padre. I thought that was kind of a cool uniform. I mean, I don't think the taco uniforms were all that cool.
No.
Although now in retrospect, they actually look cool.
Well, they never did. They wear the blue and the red sometimes. I don't know what their colors are, to tell you the truth.
Oh no, they're orange and a deep blue, and they have, I think, still a trace of that brown somewhere.
Well, all they're wearing on the road against the Giants, they've worn the same uniform every game, is the old brown and yellow with the pinstripes.
Again, maybe this year they changed it.
So
I remember seeing I don't know if you remember this, but I remember seeing back in, what was it, 72 or 73, when they were going to move the Padres to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually remember seeing a Padres jersey, but with Washington on it instead of San Diego.
Wow.
And it was a brown with the yellow and the white sleeves, but it had Washington across the chest instead of San Diego.
Well, we finish off with San Diego today, and then the Cleveland Spiders come to town. What's their real name? I can't even remember. They're not the Commanders.
The Guardians.
The Guardians. God. I'm calling them the Spiders. Here they come.
I guess better than the Indians, but not by a hell of a lot.
Weaker. I mean,
no, it just doesn't. Again, it's like the
Guardians of the Empire. What are they?
Mean something to the people in Cleveland, and maybe that's it. Because they got that bridge, and they call them what? The Guardians of Traffic.
It's too weird. It's too.
So you have a baseball team named after the Guardians of Traffic. Maybe they just ran out of politically correct names, and this was the last one on the list. I'd have gone with the Spiders.
Well, the two most recent names in sports are the Guardians and the Commanders. So we're getting progressively weaker as we look for new names.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all started when you started calling teams the Heat.
Yeah.
When in which I always thought that they should have named the Marlins the Humidity. This way, if you had a night, in June or July, and and you'd ask somebody, well, what teams were playing, you could say, well, if it's not the Heat, it's the Humidity.
Yeah, who is playing?
Who's playing today?
You got the Hurricanes, the Heat, and the Humidity.
The Heat, the Humidity. I don't know.
And it is not a dry heat; it is a damp heat.
Oh, excuse me. What else do we got going? Oh, I got a couple of things here that I thought you'd find interesting. Normally, Michael, I don't comment on. I mean, I comment on Facebook, but on some of these different, I don't know, we have that next door. Do you have the next door down there in
Yes.
Pasadena?
Called neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, we have next door. And I very rarely comment on these things, except if somebody needs some kind of help and I know something about it or something like that. I'll write a little thing, say, yeah, I can help you with that, or yeah, here's what you do, da. Well, let me read you this, because I went off on somebody today. And
Somebody next door.
Somebody next door. I'm sure I'll be getting a suspension or go to next door jail, which which would be NIMBY, not in my backyard. But anyway,
And it's
so
a
this
hookah, by
woman,
the
I'm not
way.
going to mention her name, but she lives over in the hippie snippy part of town, Woodway, the mansions and all of that. Evidently, she goes to the local supermarket up here, and somebody has a cart. She parks the car. That car's parked. They take the cart, they unload their groceries into their car, and they don't take the cart back to the thing. And I want you to tell me if you think I'm right or wrong on this. So the woman who the cart starts to roll away. The guy who's putting the groceries in the car comes back. He goes after the cart. Now he puts the cart somewhere else, and the cart rolls away again and rolls into this woman's car. So she says, she first of all, she goes and she snaps a picture of the guy, which is going to get somebody shot one of these days.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're coming at me and I'm sitting in my car and you're walking toward my car with something, I mean, the police who are trained not to shoot at people because of that.
Yes.
So what makes you think that so evidently she wrote in her thing that he allowed it to roll from his car down the hill into mine. It ended up denting my car and scratching the paint. So, she writes this, she puts a picture of the guy in the thing, which I object to, first of all. We shouldn't put pictures of people. And she says the thing, if he would have just said he was sorry, I would have forgot about it, which leads me to believe that the damage on her car wasn't all that much to begin with.
No, probably not.
So now you're looking for sympathy. Now you're looking for, oh my God, somebody did this to me. Oh, please, poor me.
Oh, you poor thing.
Oh, you poor thing. And she's got a number of responses like that. There's 10, 15, 20 of them like that. One guy was smart enough, or woman was smart enough to point out, I hope you took pictures of the dent. and she says, oh, yes, that was done. And so, and she answers every reply. So all that tells me
she's got nothing to do.
She's got nothing to do, and she's looking for sympathy. So now, of course, and this tells you this is, and I'm telling everybody this because this is social media. So now you get further down, and there's a guy who responds, never would have happened if we didn't have car-dependent infrastructure, and you could actually walk to your local grocery store to do your grocery shopping. So now we have the transit advocate who's decided that this is the spot where he's going to get everybody on his side so that he can get light rail running up the middle of Aurora Avenue. So now he starts an argument with everybody. Well, I have 4 kids and 6 bags and 3 pets and, money I got to take to the bank, all the time, So now this guy, second guy, he's now not letting go. He's dug in. He's now answering every comment about, well, if you did this and let's see, you need a few things for your meal tonight. This is him. Hop on the suburban streetcar trolley to your grocery store. Ride the trolley back. Now, I find this very funny that he's writing this on the day after there's a mass shooting on a subway in New York. Yeah. People are really going to be thinking about jumping on the old subway to, So finally somebody says, but that's off topic.
Yeah.
So now he's digging in more. Well, if we didn't have car, there wouldn't be a parking lot in front of the grocery store. You wouldn't need to, if we had that infrastructure. So now him and the original person are arguing with each other. So finally, in the words of my great friend and mentor in broadcasting, Popeye D. Sailor, I said, I had all I can stands. I can't stands no more. So I wrote, this is what I wrote finally. And I never write on these things. Oh, good Christmas. Let's just tell that he is right and move on so we can get back to the real problem. People looking for sympathy because their car got a mark on it that the person themselves admitted was small enough that they would have to forgotten about the guy, forgotten about it if the guy would have apologized. I wish we all spent this much energy on getting help for the homeless or defensive weapons to Zelensky or bulletproof vests for our kids who have to ride the subway. It's the longest thing on the social media thing today. It's probably 50 responses now. And I'm just saying, now this is truly first world problems.
This is what happens when you don't put your cart back. This is all you had to do was put your cart back. Couldn't do it. Too busy, in a hurry.
All you had to do is put your cart back. All you had to do is say, you know what? This happens. If you don't like the way it happens, park your car down in the lot a little further so that there's not a lot of people out there.
And the most dangerous thing about shopping is always the parking lot, man. That transfer of your groceries to the back seat and putting the cart back and head on the swivel, and then you got to back out into people going this way, that way, people walking behind you. Parking lots in grocery stores.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. And again, I don't mean to belittle. I mean, if there was some serious damage, but once this woman said, well, if he would have apologized, I would have, that told me that she didn't get dick's worth of damage on the car. So I'm sure I'll take some heat for this on the next door. But I just, I just found it so, with everything going on in the world today, Ukraine, and what looks like now is going to be another annihilation of people over there, and the world's inability to do anything about it, except send more annihilative weapons over there. To your kid getting on a subway train to go to school and coming home with a bullet. And this is what we're
worried about. This is what America is concerned about. Shopping cart tranquility amongst our citizens.
I don't know. It just, I will go back to my anonymity on the next door. I will stop doing, because now you got a million people on here. Well, he can be held responsible.
Well, okay, but now make that a $30,000 fine for Bob Melvin throwing at a guy who wasn't even involved in yesterday's game.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess my point here with all of this is that, again, we're just too fucking mean to each other, man. We're just, when do we start to get a grip on what life means to people? And that there are bigger things. If this is going to upset you so much that you need to go on a social media site and go on a sympathy for yourself, who's worse, the person who needs to go on a sympathy, or the person who let the shopping cart, probably by accident? I mean, I don't think the guy stood there and pushed the shopping cart. No. The fact that he got out of the car once and grabbed the shopping cart told me that the guy didn't want it to happen. But now this guy's got his picture up on social media and he's getting called an asshole by everybody in Edmonds.
It's just way out of proportion. And it's the American way, man. This is it. We are entitled brats without enough world experience to just go, hey, if you've lived a life, you realize this isn't part of it. This is nothing. Let's go home. Let's take our groceries and go home. You're not going to get satisfaction. There's no court on earth where you can take this grievance of yours and at the end of the day feel better about it. In fact, if you take the next step, you're going to feel worse than you do right now. And the next day you'll feel worse than that. And it could be your whole reason for existence. You'll start an organization on shopping cart injuries.
At night, you'll turn on your TV and they'll be, hey, I'm Santo Laquasto, injury lawyer. Have you been injured by a shopping cart in your local Winco parking lot?
I'll get you the settlement you'd never get with other lawyers. I'm the man. Call me now.
Santo got me $2,500,000.
It was the best call I ever made.
Ran over my little toe with a shopping cart.
I recommend call Santo now. Best call I ever made. Best day I ever spent in court. It was a fabulous experience.
Billy. I'm the guy that pushes the carts around with that big machine that nobody can quite figure out how it works. I called Santo and he got me $500,000 just to stay inside.
But I still got to work at Big Tom's Grocery.
But I got to be at Winco tomorrow morning at 9.
Meet you in the parking lot at the Piggly Wiggly.
I spent all that money on cocaine and a trailer. Well, we told you it was going to be a wacky Wednesday.
Told
Have
you
they
it wasn't.
found this guy yet? What's going on? I'm a little.
Have
I
they
wish
found
they
him?
would find this guy. It still unnerves me that he has not been found yet.
Yeah, there's something that's weird about that.
Yeah, there's just something.
Something weird about it. In fact, when you cover big stories like this, what happens in terms of truth a couple of days after the event is always very different from the event itself. And I'm not saying that that's the case here, but it could very well be. The fog of news has got the story wrong in some parts.
Yeah, it's just something that's
okay. The subway's suspect has been arrested.
Oh, he has been.
He has been arrested. Officials say.
Okay, because I'm looking at the New York Times right now, and it doesn't.
I'm looking at CNN.
Yeah, I just I'm looking at live updated just now. Live updates: Brooklyn subway gunman still at large. Let me check. You're looking at CNN.
He was arrested in the East Village.
In the East Village.
He was selling the East Village other, and trying to make Louis
Abelafia.
trying to make a little money to get back to Philadelphia.
Oh my God.
Patrol officers in the East Village nabbed him and saw him as he went by and said, "That's our man."
Well, see, the cops are awake.
There you go. They better be awake.
Everybody's goofing on the cops. The cops are awake.
They found him.
Good. I'm glad of that because there still is the hinkiness, and yeah, I know everybody's back on the train and everything, but still is until that guy's caught.
Yeah.
There is that feeling of, is he going to do something else?
And when we find out what it was all about, we go, he went to these links and did these terrible things for this. This is what motivated him to go from Philadelphia to New York and rent a truck and get a gun for this.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But these things never do, Michael. The guys who flew the planes into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and in Shanksville, did the world change? Did they change the world?
Well, yeah, they did.
Well, but I mean, did they change it for the good? You know what I'm saying? Did they help their cause?
No. In fact, the cause has fallen off the table, hasn't it?
Yeah, although we're reminded, because, of course, the first thing that came into people's minds in New York when this happened.
They're back.
Round up the people with the turbans or the towels or whatever slang that people are calling them in New York these days. Round them up, put them all in jail.
Get the usual suspects.
Yeah, exactly. Round up the usual suspects until they find out it's, and now I'm sure there will be somebody will say, well, this is a black and white thing now.
Yeah.
It isn't just one crazy son of a bitch who decided he was pissed off at everything or didn't get his appointment kept at the Department of Motor Vehicles. So he decided to go on a rampage.
I think that you're going to find out this is a deeply disturbed person who has got strange mental problems, and it was just a matter of time.
Yeah, that thank God that his gun now, it appears that he was so stupid that he didn't figure out that he wouldn't be able to see if he let off a smoke bomb, even though he had a gas mask.
Where's my credit card? Where's my car? Where are my keys? Where's my credit card? Where's my wallet? I left everything behind.
Which also said to me that what kind of world do we live in where a guy's sitting on a subway train in a gas mask and nobody thinks it's weird?
And to me, the most frightening element of it was subway cars are big, but they're not that big.
Right.
They're long, but they're not that long. And if you're in a subway car today just fantasize on 33 shots ringing down that car. Where would you hide? Where would you duck? There's no cover. There's no place to go. There's no place. It's just luck or bad luck. That's all you've got going for you until that gun jams.
Yeah, the best thing that you can do is just hit the floor right away and not move. Act like you got hit already.
Right.
So that the chances are he's going to think he got you. Just keep moving. I remember telling somebody once after one of the school shootings, I said I would, from now on, I would send my kid to school with 3 or 4 ketchup packets in his pocket. And if something happened like that, I would just hit myself with the ketchup packet and lie down until somebody got to get me, because chances are the person would think that they got you already.
And don't take the green relish by mistake.
Yeah. Nobody bleeds green. And and how bizarre is that we even think like that? That we even have that kind of use that kind of logic in our lives.
Well, that's the reality of the life we live in.
Yeah, it sure is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how do we make it better, Mikey? Maybe that's something we ought to think about for Friday. Is there a chance that we make this all better somehow, or are we just going to shuffle off this mortal coil and leave it in so much worse condition than we found it in?
Well, we've got the weapon that was used, the Glock, and let's find out how he got it. Let's find out how he obtained it. Let's find out how he got the long clips that he had with him. Let's find out some of that, because here's a sick guy with a gun, and it was a bad combination.
And the signs were all there. I mean, apparently, from what I've read and seen in social media stuff, I mean, if I ranted like that on social media, they'd send somebody for me.
And I wonder if he had close friends or a family by him. I bet not.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you think that somebody, if are looking at those Facebook posts, and if it's in his family, and saying, "Wait a second, something's wrong with Uncle Frankie."
Frankie's not right anymore.
Frankie ain't right. We need to talk to somebody about Frankie. And
before it's too late. That's what you always say, right? We got to do something in case he goes off the deep end.
Oh, one more note, because I know we're getting right up to our. Actually, we've passed our moment here. Did you happen to see the first press conference yesterday with the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul?
No. How'd she do?
A note to Governor Hochul. I'll give you this one for free, because I'm an ex-New Yorker and I still love my state.
Oh, you're not an ex-New Yorker.
My city. But a mass shooting is not a place for a campaign rally.
That's right.
Absolutely. A mass shooting is not the place for you to stand up and start to tell everybody how bad guns are and how you're going to make the city and the state safer. In an incident like that, in case you don't have anybody smart enough to tell you, let me give it to you. You make the people feel confident that the situation is under control, and you make the people feel confident that your police and your different agencies are doing everything they can do to get the situation under control, to find out what happened, and to give people confidence enough to walk out of their houses. People that are cowering in their houses because there's a guy out on the street that just tried to murder 50 people in a subway car.
And you know the difference between what happens from Albany, which is a long way from Manhattan, and New York, with New York who just says to the capital, hey, I know you're the capital of the state, but we got this, okay? We're the Big Apple. If you don't mind, we can take care of this. We got it.
In a state of not fine moments for the governors, in a state where we've seen more than one governor resign. As a matter of fact, while she was there at the shooting, her lieutenant governor was resigning, being indicted. So
how do you feel today? Do I look good in cuffs?
Yeah. So, I mean, so my tip to you there, Governor Hochul, is next time and God forbid you won't be, but next time you're confronted with a situation like this, go back and watch the tapes of Andrew Cuomo and the epidemic. Go look at how he handled that. Go look at it, and you can say he was this, he was that, he did this, didn't do that, didn't lie to this, that, the other thing. And none of it's been proven.
Yeah, it was his last great moment.
But nobody can deny that at that moment, at that time, he was truly a leader.
Yep.
He truly stood up and he got the confidence of most of the people that weren't conspiracy theorists, and he made people feel like it was going to be all right, that we got to get through this together, and that you are relatively safe if you follow the things that my staff has come up with to keep you safe.
Well, I've got a question I bet you can answer that has nothing to do with what we were just talking about. Kristen asked me last night, what's the most runs ever scored in a game? And I said, I don't know. It's got to be in the 20s, but I bet you Vinnie knows.
No, I think it's 30. I think it broke the 30 barrier. It hits me. Well, let's try to figure it out real quick. I'm thinking it's going to be 30 or 31, and I'll even go with this. It was in the early 1900s, and I think Cleveland might have been involved in it.
The Spiders?
Yeah, I think
the fighting spiders
may have been involved in it. I remember reading in a MLB game. Let's see. Well, it has a highest combined score is 49. August 25th, 1922, between the Cubs and the Phillies. Okay, here, teams to score 25 or more runs in a game. They ought to give it to us, right? 29-8. Let's see, since 1900, Rangers 30 and Orioles 3. On August 22nd, 2007, Braves 29, Marlins, White Sox 29, Red Sox 29, Indians 27 versus the Red Sox 3 on July 7th, 1923. Rube Lutzke drove in 6 runs.
That's
Rube
Rube for you.
Stevenson drove in 5.
Was Smokey Burgess there?
Started for the Indians, gave up 2 runs on 7 hits. Lefty O'Doul came into the game in relief of Kurt Fullerton, who started for Boston and was charged with 16 runs.
Then he opened the restaurant. He said, okay.
Then he said, I'm going to San Francisco.
They're going to name a bridge after me. I want this day to be over.
They're going to name a bridge. Name a bridge after me. I'm, let's see, Cubs. I'm just looking. Yeah, I knew there was a Mets game in here somewhere. In 85, the Phillies beat the Mets 26-7. Indians at the Browns 26-3. But 30 is the. I knew it hit the 30 mark somewhere. I just didn't associate both of them.
I would have never guessed Texas, but somebody's got to do it. Go ahead,
yeah,
Texas.
But 30 seems to be the most ever in a Major League Baseball game since 1900.
That's close enough.
If I researched it more, I'm sure that there was probably something before 1900 in that 1890 to. And maybe that's what I'm thinking about with the Spiders.
I've been watching Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper call the games for the Giants. They came back after the first inning and it's 6-0. And they said, well, 49ers are in charge with a touchdown. We missed the extra point. 6-0 San Francisco.
It is a good thing that Major League Baseball does is to open up the the channel for the first week of the season and let you see everything. I'm lucky in that I have T-Mobile. And one of the benefits of the T-Mobile deal with Major League Baseball, and they sponsor, I mean, half of the baseball stadiums now seem like they're named T-Mobile Park. But one of the benefits of that, if you're a T-Mobile customer, is that you get free MLB TV for the year, for the season, which I think is probably the best benefit I've ever gotten since I worked with the Mariners and got it for free back then, so I could watch the games, because it's $150 a year or something like that.
Yes, which is like less than $1 a game.
Right, which is less than $1 a game. The only bad thing is, and I don't think it's all that bad really, is that you don't get local games. The local games are blacked out.
So if you're watching, if I'm watching the Giants play and I'm paying for it, I don't get the Dodgers.
Right, you wouldn't get in Pasadena. You wouldn't get the Dodgers or the Angels.
Right.
But you would get the Giants because they're not in your market. But they don't want to completely kill the
local broadcast,
local rights holders, because they still derive a good portion of their income from that. So they don't want to, they don't want to knock Root Sports out, even though they're owned by the Mariners now. But they don't want to knock them out. So they, so they make sure that you're not going to get. Now you can get past that if you get a VPN and just put a different, pick an address somewhere in, I don't know, Kansas City, and then you just
Kansas City.
You use that address, and then you'll get your local games. And if they catch it, I'm sure that they'll suspend your account.
Remember, if you're watching the Kansas City Royals, it's going to be some kind of a game. Just want you to know that.
Oh, Lord.
The Royals tonight taking on the Spiders from Cleveland. It's going to be some kind of a game.
Some kind of a game. With me tonight, Lefty Lefterson. He's down on the field with our good friend Sparky Sparkerson.
And you know me, I'm Biff Jiggerman, your humble studio
Biff
host.
Play-by-play guy up here in the booth with our color analyst and good friend Lucky Venus. Lucky.
Actually, I'm over to the home tonight.
You at the home, Lucky?
Doing the game on the payphone in the hallway.
You on the? Are you at the ex-Huskies or the ex-Cougs?
Yes.
Okay, good. We'll be tuning in for that one.
They're putting this together now. We're commingling.
The days of Lucky Venus. Lucky Venus and Jocko Conlon.
Well, I don't know what can change with the world for the better between now and our Freaky Friday broadcast, but something had better. I'm just putting it on the line. Make it better for Friday.
Please, if you were thinking about changing the world for the better, and up to and including taking out a certain world leader who lives in Moscow.
Hey, yeah, that's right. If you're all for getting in the war, let's get in the war. Maybe we'll have a war by Friday that we're involved in, instead of just mailing stuff to the people who are actually doing the fighting.
I will take that, or Tucker Carlson being in a mental institution. One or the other would make my world.
And would that institution be here or in Spolpakia?
Oh, I think you should definitely go to Spolpakia. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they have mental facilities there that will cure you quickly.
They're called eye openers.
He'll come back. They'll send Tucker Spolpakia there. They'll send him to Spolpakia Hospital for the Infirm on Monday, and on Thursday he'll come out of a McCarthy Democrat. And I'm not talking about Senator. I'm talking about Gene McCarthy.
Yeah, that's right. Sit down, Carlson Spolpakia. This won't take long.
Yes, we're just gonna hold on. They don't use the patches that they hook the wires. They just tell you, hold on to this for a second, and then walk over. They turn on the lamp.
You won't feel better, but you will feel differently.
Matter of fact, you probably won't feel much of anything when you leave.
There's a good point. There's a good point. Many have said they don't feel much anymore. I don't feel it
not
down
really.
here
They can hit
anymore.
you with a truck and you'll just get up. Oh, excuse me, I'm okay. Sorry,
fine.
did I get your car in the parking lot?
Would you like another round of treatments? Make you feel, no. Oh no, thank you.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'll be
I am
back in
good.
a year for the tune-up.
Tell the guys at Fox I won't be in today.
Or tomorrow.
I'll see you Friday for a Freaky Fractious Friday, man.
Mikey, see you Friday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. Have a good rest of the day. And to all of you out there as well, thank you so much for listening. And we will catch up with you on Friday morning at 10:10. And until then, peace, love, Manischewitz.
What a wine.
What a wine.